Today on Locked On Canadiens, we celebrate the first Gordie Howe hat trick of Lane Hudson's career. He scored a goal, he assisted on the winner, and he fought the referees the entire night long.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, for subscribing wherever you get your podcast, doing that supports us here on the show and ensures you don't miss an episode, and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We do really love saying that. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as @MaybeIt'sIan, and I'm joined as I always am by Laura Saba, also known as the Actor Stick. Laura, an incredible game on Tuesday against the Minnesota Wild. I know in our short that was published after this, you said that you were eating crow. I also have some crow to eat because I always say that this Tuesday night Minnesota Wild game in one of the desolate winter months is always the worst game of the year.
It was
and
actually
it was far from it.
It was so good.
Yeah, I really thought it was one of Montreal's best efforts. Look, we'll get into that. We're going to talk about the game as a whole. Because the Canadiens ended up winning, I feel we are somewhat vindicated in spending a little bit of time just getting on our soapbox about NHL officiating. It's truly, truly baffling what's happening on any given rink on any given night. So I want to talk about how the NHL continues to get it wrong and how they can make it right. And it was kind of nice seeing the two Team USA snubs and Hutson and Caulfield have incredible nights, including Caufield scoring the game winner on an assist from Lane Hudson. I want to talk about in the future, is there a chance these guys make Team Canada, or Team Canada, Team USA at a future Olympics? Lane Hudson's dad says he could play for Team Canada. I don't know how true that is. But let's start the Minnesota game Tuesday night in Montreal. It really felt like the Canadiens' best full effort from start to finish. They really didn't take their foot off the gas unless the referees made them take their foot off the gas, right?
Yes, and the same thing happened against Edmonton very early in the season. They did not take their foot off the gas for a second until the refs actually made them. Like this is very similar to that. The Montreal Canadiens, yes, they were rested for 2 days, and you saw what a huge difference it made. Last week, they looked gassed. We criticized their effort because they were tired, right? This time, there was nothing like that. They had 2 days. They had a day off and then a day of practice, and the rest really, really made the difference. We have to mention, yes, Minnesota was on the second night of a back-to-back, but it was not even remotely close. The score looks a lot closer than the game was. The Montreal Canadiens were relentless. Minnesota couldn't get anything going unless it was on their power play. It was really just a masterclass. You watch the Montreal Canadiens really be everywhere on the ice, not give any time and space, shooting a lot. Everything you wanted to see from the Habs, you saw, and it was just like perfect execution. It was a great home game.
Yeah, it really was. And I think there were so many great moments throughout it, right? Obviously, Caufield winning it, but also Phil Deneau getting his first goal of the season and his first goal back in a Canadiens jersey. That was a pretty emotional moment at the Bell Center. I was really happy for him. I was really happy to finally see him get that. The Bell Center was loud when that happened. What I found interesting was the Canadiens got a power play immediately after that. And I was really hoping in my notes, I write down where I think moments of the game happened. And I thought that was going to be a moment of the game where the Canadiens could have instantly taken the lead. They didn't, but they scored immediately after that power play. I believe that one was Alex Carrier for some reason, who is red hot, a new career high in goals with 5. Carrier enters the zone, swings around the back of the net, dishes it off to Demidov, who gets it to Matheson. Carrier is just trying to get back to his spot on the blue line when Matheson shoots it and he deflects it into the net. Obviously, this heater is going to end for Carrier at some point.
You're right.
But this is important offense he's providing at this point in the season, right?
Yes, because you're going to take it from anybody at this point in the season. Yeah. You need the goals, you need the wins, you need the points, but it's also good for his confidence. I think, we talked earlier in the season how other teams seem to have solved him, and this is a new thing that he's bringing, a new dimension that he's bringing, and he's doing it by being positionally sound.
Yeah, I think he has more offensive chops than maybe we would have thought, or maybe Nashville even thought. But because he plays so well defensively, you're like, yeah, just do that, right? Yeah. Like, it's just sort of like, we know you do that really well. Just do
That's
that.
your chair.
Yeah, that is your. Yeah, it's exactly, to use the Martyism. That is your chair. Another guy I thought who was on it from shift one until the end of the game, Ivan Demidov, from
Yes.
his very first shift, looked like he wanted to create something special. And
Yes.
I wonder how much of that was seeing number 97 across the ice from him in Kirill Kaprizov. I wonder how much of it was, I want to show him how good I am.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, but it could also just be that, this man has also had a couple of days of rest, right? And he's just what I find is so incredible about him is that he knows where everyone is, even if he's not looking.
Yeah, the Hutson goal.
He can feel like where his teammates are, and he can also feel where the opponent is. It's just like that. His instincts are so strong. It's just so beautiful to watch him play. And because Cole Caufield scored with 15 seconds to go, because Lane Hudson was so good tonight, because Alex Carrier had a good night, because Philippe Danault had his first goal, all of this stuff kind of overshadows just how magnificent Ivan Demidov was. He was one of the anchors to that game. Like, if we're talking about not giving Minnesota time and space, if we're talking about hemming them into their zone, we're talking about that. Like, Demidov is the architect of so many of those moments.
Yep. Yeah, he ends the night with 2 points, including the completely bonkers assist on Hutson's goal on the one-timer. There must be a clip of him checking that he's there beforehand, because from the second the puck is on Strubl's stick to when it gets to Demidov to when it gets to Hutson, he never looks at him.
No.
He just kind of, I don't know if they're using echolocation or what's going on out there, but it felt like he never had to look in that direction. He just knew my guy's going to be open there. Every time those two are on the ice at the same time, there's a chance for something special to happen.
Yeah.
Montreal's been starving for one of those players. They have two of them now.
They have two. And like, we're not even talking about Caufield or Suzuki or Slafkovsky. We're not talking about Noah Dobson. It's just incredible. Just how dynamic they are.
Yeah. Two more guys I want to focus on here before we move into our second segment. Dobish, I thought was shaky.
Yes.
I thought that I think it was the third goal. I think he needs to stop that one. It's through traffic. Actually, I don't think it was him. I think it was the Faber goal. It's like kind of through traffic, but you can see Dobish is looking at it and then puts himself into traffic in order to make the save. And it just hits his pad and glove and goes in. Like, it's just one that you go, he needs to make that stop.
I just felt that his rebounds were too juicy, right? Like, anytime you see that, he is a rebound, he is pretty generous with rebounds, but when they're that juicy, like, it feels like he's nervous.
Yeah, that's something, we flagged at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Was it like, hey, he's playing really well, the numbers are good, except for rebound control. Hopefully that doesn't turn out to be something meaningful. And it seemingly is one of the big things we're talking about with that player. Last guy I want to talk about here, his first game back in a long time, Kirby Dach.
Yes.
I thought that line at 5-on-5 was okay. There's definitely some room for growth there. Especially, it's helpful on a night where, every line on the Canadiens was effectively able to do whatever they wanted at 5-on-5. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of, you kind of weigh it against that. What'd you like about Kirby Dach's return to action, especially on that top line?
The on-ramp seemed shorter than I thought initially, right?
Yeah.
He looked ready. And there were a couple mistakes that he made, but they weren't fatal mistakes. They weren't anything where, like, it might have been a giveaway or something that I flagged. Sure. But he looked like he was able to keep up, and he looked willing to do the work that, we were talking about yesterday, what Kirby Dach needs to do to solidify his spot in the lineup. He looked willing to do that, right? Like, he was very physical for somebody coming back from an injury. And it feels like he's more healed, or he's further along his healing journey than Kaiden Guhle was when he got in. He got back in.
Yeah, that's for sure. This was probably Guhle's best game since coming back too. But I completely agree with you. Like, we watched the first couple games of Guhle coming back. We're like, maybe he shouldn't be back. Maybe he should be sitting this one out a little bit. I know Scott in our chat has been arguing on behalf of the conditioning stint. Like, send these guys down to play.
Everybody should just go to Laval.
I don't hate it. If you have that tool, use it, right?
Yeah, it's right here.
It's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But yeah, the one thing I take away from Kirby Dach's game, and we saw it, and I talk about it, when he was coming back and we were thinking about where he was going to go in the lineup. The one part of his game that I love that is sort of a through line from one shift to the next is just how much of a jerk he can be. And he kept finding himself in front of the net, being a pest, being hard to move around. There was a shot late in the game where it didn't look like it should have been all that dangerous, but because Kirby Dach is in front of the net and 2 Minnesota Wild players could not move him out of the front of Jesper Wallstad, like he was a really difficult save for that goalie to make.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him develop, be that pest, be the guy that we thought Slav was on that top line.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the same level of skill or whatever. You know, you're a different player. Go be Kirby Dach, but do the things that big dudes do that make life better for the Cole Caufields and the Nick Suzuki's and the Noah Dobsons who are going to be shooting that puck from the point, right? Get in the goalie's way, make life hard for him, continue to be a jerk.
And that was a good goalie. And I have to say, Minnesota is a good team, right? They've got so many good players. They've got, so like the Habs being able to do this is all the more impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, speaking of being a jerk, let's talk about NHL officiating and how none of it seems to make any sense. It's all made up and the points don't matter. And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, you should trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach quality candidates faster. Sponsored jobs boost your posts to the people who are the best match for your role, and that makes a real difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than a non-sponsored job. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. All right, welcome back. Thank you for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Canadiens compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You'll also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. I'm Discord literate. I'll be hanging out there, so come hang out. Go to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right. Montreal goes on a power play. In the second period, I think that was. Yes, late second period. Minute 39 left in the period. The Canadiens are up by a goal. They have a chance to go up by 2 against a team that played the previous night and is on the second half of a back-to-back with travel. So it's a big moment for this team. And then Marcus Foligno falls at the blue line for the Wild. And for some reason, the play stops. And that reason was Lane Hudson was called for tripping. The only problem with it is that Lane Hudson was not within 5 feet of Marcus Foligno. He just fell. He caught a rut in the ice, and he fell down. Marty St. Louis is yelling at the ref. It's Eric Furlat, by the way. Also, again, bad news. If you ever end a hockey game and you know a referee's name, that's not how this should work. And the camera just kept cutting to Eric Furlat. Every time something happened in that game from that point on, they were just like, look at that guy. I think where I want to focus our energy on this conversation is not personal attacks on the referees. I think they call the games this way because the NHL wants them to call the games this way. And what I mean by that is they could have gotten together and said, we didn't get that one right. You know, we've seen them do this before. You don't have to get the iPad out to review it because you're not allowed to do that. But have a linesman come in and say, actually, Lane Hudson wasn't in the same zip code as Marcus Foligno. He just fell.
It was like in a totally different city.
It was not close. Like, I know these guys have a hard job. We all do. You know how we know that? Because every time we complain about something that happens, their job's hard. Well, I guess that's a pass then, right? Like we just move on. We are in the era of video review in every sport, right? Every year, the leagues are tweaking and still fine-tuning what goes into making video review feasible and what you're allowed to challenge and what you're not allowed to challenge. You are allowed to challenge for a play is offside if the offside happened 2 whole minutes before the goal gets scored, right? We've decided that we want that call to be gotten right. And we all kind of hate it. We hate that part of that rule, but we understand it at the very least. The play was offside, something was against the rule. The challenge is that when you are that particular, that's the word I'll use, particular. There's a lot of meaner words I can use. I'll use that one. When you are that particular about getting those calls right, when you let these other ones go, you look stupid. And I think the NHL is totally fine looking stupid. It's a real problem where, Laura, how long have you been watching hockey? I've been watching hockey close to 20 years now.
Yeah.
Like, the fact
25 years, 26 years.
The fact that in that moment we both go, well, they got the call wrong, and we all know it, including the ref who immediately went to Mike Matheson to say sorry, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah. You need to be able to reverse that.
The fans of this sport should be able to recognize this sport, right? Every day we get further and further away from the NHL being an actual sport. It's made up. None of it. Andrew Berkshire said this a long time ago, and he, by the way, he just wrote an article for Eyes on the Prize about the Atlantic Division and how penalties are broken down and how the Canadiens seemingly always get the short end of the stick when it comes to officiating. Like when they're trying
it's
to
not
come
in
back,
our heads.
No, when they're trying to come back in games, they get the worst percentage of penalty calls in their favor in the division. So with that said, Andrew Berkshire a long time ago, not that long, probably like last year or 2 years ago, said the NHL officiating is professional wrestling. And it is. It's all for show. None of this is real. And they make it up as they go.
Yeah.
And I think that we are, as fans of this sport, well within our rights to say that this is getting out of hand. And every year the bar gets lower. Laura, where are you at on NHL officiating, especially after watching the game we just watched?
I think they need to stop managing games. I think that their role has to be safety. Their role has to be calling infractions. They need to stop managing games. It can't be like, well, we gave them 2 penalties. We got to give these guys 1 too. Or we got that call wrong, so we're going to go soft this time, right? If Marcus Foligno dives the way he did, that's the guy that should be in the penalty box.
I don't even think it was a dive. He just fell. He just fell. But this is the thing, right? We went from last game, Tim Stützle doing some Olympic level diving, to this where a guy just falls and they still get it wrong. It just seems like you're able to, like, if you want to stop incentivizing diving, and again, I'm not saying that's what Foligno did here. I don't think that's what you meant to say either. Like, if you want to stop incentivizing it, stop calling it. Stop. Like, because here's the thing, Foligno falls there, and now teams will go, if anybody brushes by me in that moment where they're trying to enter the zone on the power play, I can just fall and get a penalty. That guy wasn't even close. He was practically on the, he was in a different zone of the ice, and I fell and I drew a penalty. I get so frustrated as somebody who, I'll just be honest, I've watched a lot of hockey. I love this sport. I don't know how you become a fan of this league, a fan of a team in this league, when you watch games like this and you go, so we all saw that didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do anything about that. It kind of puts the whole competitive balance and competitive aspect of this into question.
It does. And like, it's not to say like they've never made mistakes in the past. There's a pretty egregious one. Right, against the Toronto Maple Leafs that they haven't shut up about for 30 something years. I think we're going on 33 years at this point, but it does happen and it does cost, but it didn't used to happen as often as it does now. Now it's like there's a bunch of those every night.
Yeah. Well, what was even more frustrating is we go, okay, I know the NHL. I know how the officials operate. Montreal is about to get the funniest makeup call of all time, and that never happened.
Yeah.
So they set us up to believe that like these makeup calls and they're going to balance everything out in the end, and then something like that happens, and instead, there's Montreal is in their own zone, and Lane Hudson is in a battle in front of the net, and he gets a holding the stick call on a play where he had both of his hands on his own stick the entire time.
Yeah.
Nobody even close looked like their stick was held, and it was called by the referee in the neutral zone. I I have a really hard time watching this sport and recognizing it, from just pick up hockey or shinny sometimes.
Yeah.
Because of just these guys, they have such a stranglehold on the flow of the game, especially now that power plays have become far more potent than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you cannot just afford to gift teams power plays. It's really, really frustrating. At the time for a third ref off the ice to help them make calls was like 20 years ago, but the second best time for it is now. Like, they need to do this. There needs to be an end to this. Like, I think they missed like 3 high sticks on the Canadiens behind the play. I think Dach took one, Deneau took one in the face. Like, and there's no recourse for it.
Yeah.
So really frustrating. But all this to say, we were only able to talk about it because the Canadiens won, and it doesn't sound like sour grapes. And as the great Rushy Wallace always used to yell, and how I post on Blue Sky when stuff like this happens, ball don't lie. All right, we'll leave that there. When we come back, I hope Bill Guerin was watching Lane Hudson and Cole Caufield end the night for his team, and we'll talk about whether or not he will ever pick those 2 players to play for Team USA in an international tournament. And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Here's how it works. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets you like the most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day, see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, coaching, whatever you like. The boost gives you more juice on the bets you already like, instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks and then apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. All right. Lane Hudson, 2 points on the night, goal and an assist. Caulfield, the goal on that aforementioned assist from Lane Hudson.
Bums.
Complete
Useless.
bums.
Useless.
Definitely not Olympians. Definitely not some of the best American players currently in the game.
And potentially some of the best American players in American hockey history.
Yeah, Hudson might end up there at some point. Like, I have no. Yeah. We say this as people who will support Team Canada at the Olympics, but we also say this as fans of this team, of the Montreal Canadiens, and it's sort of an interesting place to be, right? Because I want those players to go, because I want them to have that experience, and I want them to get what I believe is owed to them and what they've earned.
Yes,
but at the same time, screw them. Like, if Team USA doesn't want to take good players, I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Nope.
What is it going to take to get these guys on this roster? Let me start with Lane Hudson, because I think the reason Lane Hudson might not be on an Olympic team was across the ice from him in Quinn Hughes. I don't think they want to stack too many of those players in a tournament like this. What are your thoughts on Hudson?
I think Hudson is at more of a disadvantage because there are guys like him already, right? The problem. And he's going to have to outplay Quinn Hughes at some point, which, you know what, a year and a half ago, I would have been like, it's impossible. Today, I'm like, that he can compete with Quinn Hughes' career, right? He will. He can. I
think they will be peers.
Yeah.
If they're not already, very soon.
Yes, absolutely. So, I would rather there be a situation where they both get invited to orientation camp, for example, and because there's all kinds of they have to do drug testing and insurance and things like that. So it is really hard if you're not on the short list or whatever, the long list, you're not going, right? And these 2 guys are not on the long list. So there's no chance that this season that could happen. Or this year that could happen. But for me, it's a matter of it should be a situation where they've got 2 choices. They've got Quinn Hughes and Lane Hudson, and maybe Lane Hudson outplays Quinn Hughes. That's how he's going to make the team, right? It's not fair, but there are too many guys like him, right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even mention Adam Fox, who didn't make Team USA, right? Yeah. I think Lane Hudson will make this undeniable by the next time these Olympics roll around.
Yeah.
Let's get into Cole Caufield because I think there's a through line between the two of them for
Mhm.
me that will define whether or not they make this team at some point.
Is it the size?
Well, I think for Caulfield and Hutson, yes, the size is one of those things, but I also think it's just the guys who are picking this team. I think if Team USA has made it a mandate that you have to be big and you have to play big in order to make this team.
Yeah.
And if they go into the second best on best tournament with that mentality and they lose again, I don't know that those people are going to be making the decisions the next time around. And maybe that's when you get a Cole Caufield in the lineup, a Lane Hudson in the lineup.
It-
Especially because like they're pitching all of their goal hopes on Austin Matthews. And I don't know if folks remember this, but like he wasn't all that spectacular at Four Nations. He hasn't been all that spectacular since then. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries. Like, I don't know how this team decided we have enough goals, but they have decided that. And I think it's going to be their downfall at the Olympics. If
Yeah.
anything is, it's that.
Because the thing is, they're taking two Kachucks, right? You can afford to take a Caulfield if you have two Kachucks on the ice.
Yeah, it's sort of the old NES hockey where like you could pick like the middle guy, or you could pick the really big guy who couldn't skate but he could hammer the puck, or the really skinny guy who couldn't do anything except skate really fast. Like, and you would pick a balance of those guys, right? I think Team USA thinks that they're playing like pre-lockout hockey, and I just don't know that that's going to be. Maybe it's successful at the Olympics, especially because they've completely botched the size of the ice surface. Like, if you listen to everybody, they're going to be playing on a postage stamp by the time the Olympics roll around. Like, it's kind of crazy how that has become a sideshow of its own. But I really like. I look back to like, the 2016 World Cup, and Team USA then was thinking the same thing. Like, oh, we can't take Phil Kessel because he doesn't play tough, so we have to take Justin Abdelkader. And look where it gets you. Right. I think now Team USA is in a better position because they have more talent than they did back then.
Yes.
But I just think they're trying to go about this the wrong way. I hope for our sake, both as Canadiens fans and as fans of Team Canada, that Team USA gets smoked in this tournament. And, next time around, maybe it's not Bill Guerin in charge of this team. And it's somebody who will say, you know what, we can find a place for a guy who
can score goals with 15 seconds to go
in the clutch. I think that's what's, to me, like if you want to get inside the hockey man brain, it's not how many you score, it's when you score them. Nobody scores clutch goals on this Canadiens team like Cole Caufield does, and I think he's entering his name into the league conversation when it comes to clutch goal scoring.
He scored 2 one time, 1 to tie, 1 to win.
Yeah.
Right?
I really have a hard time finding a place for both Hutson and Caulfield as long as the mentality is what it is for Team USA. And the only way that changes is if they get embarrassed on an international level and they have to make some changes in who runs that team.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that team is good. Like, it's a really good program. It's going to be good. But when you leave like Jason Robertson off of that list, when you leave Cole Caufield off of that, the decision making is nuts. For Team Canada, there were some of those, right? Like, just them bringing Cirelli is kind of weird.
Team Canada did a lot of like rolls and chairs.
Yeah.
And you don't do it in best on best, you just bring the best. Just like, who are your top player? Who are your top forwards, top defensemen, top goalies, and then you figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
And in Canada, the goalie question, I don't even want to think about that. But you don't bring role players, you don't bring guys with chairs. Like, that's the NHL.
Yeah. How bad did Mark Scheifele was one of the guys that I think got left off of Team Canada.
Yeah.
You're telling me he can't play a fourth line and penalty kill if you need him to? Like, I feel like it's just
has to be Cirelli.
I feel like it's just so silly, man. And hey, they might be without Braden Point, going into that Olympics, so maybe Team Canada looks a little bit differently.
Yeah.
By the time the tournament starts. Gut check the next Olympics, right? So we're in 2026, so 2030.
Mm-hmm.
Are Caulfield and Hutson on that team?
Yes.
You think they're both there?
Absolutely.
Is Hutson there with Quinn Hughes?
I don't know.
Yeah. See, that's where it gets iffy because he would have to be playing at the same level as Quinn Hughes for him to be on that team.
Yeah, but see, what I'm banking on is between now and the next Olympics, the Canadiens have entered their contending window.
Yeah, and we're seeing them play in more playoff games, and guys go, "Hey, wait a minute, these guys can handle these moments." I mean,
And
Hutson was a point per game player in the playoffs last year. He had 5 points in that series.
and I absolutely agree with you, but like last year it was like, oh, this is a baby team, right? Whereas like the idea of playing on a perennial contender makes you look better. Like it gives
Yeah,
you, the context helps you. So he could be playing exactly the same way as Quinn Hughes, but if the Canadians are a contender and the Wild are floundering, he looks better.
yeah,
So that's what
absolutely.
I'm
All
banking
right.
on. I'm banking on the cachet, not the actual outplaying some other guy.
Yeah, maybe get some US national TV broadcasts for the second year in a row. The Canadians do
Canadians are
not
not
have
on
a
any of them.
TNT game. They don't have an ESPN game.
Yep.
So, it's if you don't want to watch one of the most offensive teams in the league play, that's
Your
on you
problem.
guys. Anyway, let's leave that there. Let's hit our trivia and then head out of here. Yesterday's question. The Habs' first game in Minnesota, in the first Habs game in Minnesota, this Montreal Canadiens scored 4 points. Do you have the answer to this one, Laura? Or do you want me to give the answer?
Is it Dick Duff?
It is Dick Duff. On November 15th, 1967, he scored a goal and added 3 assists in the Canadiens' win over the Minnesota North Stars. You were very salient in your question yesterday when I posed it. You said, is this counting the North Stars or the Wild? And I said, you're on the right track. Super Rain was also on the right track. He had the correct answer for this one. All right. Today's question. This one's in honor of Josh Georges, who is heading to the British Columbia Hockey Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Josh Georges. I have a soft spot in my heart for players like him, and especially him. Josh Georges has been named to the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. He is the Habs' all-time leader in block shots with 1,042. The NHL has only recorded shot blocks since the 05-06 season. Who are the Habs' top 5 shot blockers all time? So given that timeline, that they've only recorded it since 05-06, give me the Habs' top 5 in block shots. You already know Josh Georges is at the top, so give me the remaining 4 out of the top 5. If you have those guys, put them in the comments down below this video. Send them to us any way you know how, and we will give you a shout out on the next episode of the show. That is going to do it for us today on this episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for tuning in, for making us your first listen of the day, for subscribing wherever you get your podcast, doing that supports us here on the show and ensures you do not miss an episode. If you don't ever miss an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Canadiens ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. You can find the show where we're posting things, Locked On Canadiens on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. You can send us emails, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. It's the best way to get in contact with us. We love to get your emails, questions for the mailbag. We do a mailbag every Friday, but we also just love hearing from you guys. So continue to reach out, send us. The vibes are high with this team. We love hearing it from you guys. So continue to reach out. You can find me at Maybe It's Ian. You can find Laura at The Active Stick. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys tomorrow.